Hello, everyone, and welcome to our AWS series. Today, we're going to talk about Amazon's another service or a feature, the Amazon RDS. Amazon RDS is Amazon's relational database services. That's what they're offering. Is traditionally we have been deploying either a bare metal server or a VM, usually the Windows, Linux, depending on the type of database that you need, and probably go ahead and install the type of the database that you need. It could be MySQL, Postgres, Microsoft SQL Server, one of the other things. So the Amazon Relational Database Service or Amazon RDS is a web service that makes it, very easy to set up, operate, and create a relational database in the cloud. So, like as I mentioned, traditionally we have been deploying an host, and then on top of the host, we'll go ahead and deploy a RDBMS solution or RDS solution, relational database service, and then probably if we need high availability or clustering, then we would have to make it our solution highly available, either in the form of clustering or some different solution. So that's the whole thing that we plan to do today with the Amazon's RDS. So Amazon RDS, it basically provides a cost-efficient and a resizable capacity while managing your time consumption, database administration task. Another good thing, the Amazon RDS gives you access to the most of the capabilities that we are already familiar. These are some of the engines which are being supported by Amazon right now. They have their own RDS offering by name Amazon Aurora. You can have a MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, Oracle, and our Microsoft SQL server. The good thing about Amazon's RDS service is that RDS automatically patches all the database softwares and backs up your database, storing the backups for user-defined retention period that you configure, the point-in-time recovery, and some of the other things that it makes it a pretty good offering from the Amazon. Another good thing, Amazon RDS database instances can be provisioned with either a standard storage or the provisional IOPS storage. Hopefully you remember that from the EC2 lab. Amazon RDS Provision IOPS is a storage option basically designed to deliver fast, predictable, and consistent IO performance. Especially these are optimized for the IO intensive task or something like you're running in a transactional database, that kind of stuff. So probably that it makes more sense for us to use provisional IOPS versus general purpose SSDs or magnetic, that kind of things. There are a lot of advantages that we get with the Amazon's RDS as the solution. And one of the thing that RDS makes it easy to use your application, basically to enhance availability and reliability for your production workloads. So while deploying, there is an option, so you can use the Amazon's multi-AZ deployment option. You can run with that. You can run pretty much your mission critical workloads with high availability and built-in automated failover from your primary database to a synchronously replicated secondary database in case of the failure of your primary database. And again, as with all Amazon Web Services, there are no upfront investment required, and you pay only for the services you use pretty much. There are some other features that you get with the Amazon RDS, like there are a lot of pre-configured parameters. So that way you don't have to configure some of the normal thing. You can just simply go ahead and launch a MySQL server or a SQL server instance, and then just simply go ahead and connect your application and start using that database. But at the same time, if you desire, there are additional control that you can achieve and using the database parameters group to make some of the changes. There are built-in monitoring and matrices like that we have been saying. You can use Amazon's CloudWatch for your matrices. Again, the good thing, it's automated software patching. So Amazon RDS will make sure that the relational database software powering your deployment, either it's a MySQL, SQL, Maria, whatever is the type, stays up to date with the latest patches. And again, you can optionally control over when and if your database is patched or not, or depending on your needs. Another thing with the Amazon RDS, you get something like automated backup. So you basically, and it's turned on by default. The automated backup features on RDS enables point-in-time recovery for your database instances. So there is no special thing that you need to set up like that we have been doing traditionally, uh, almost for a pretty long decade. Another good thing, you can do snapshots. So there are DB snapshots. So DB snapshots again are user-initiated backup of your database instance, and these are full databases. And backup will be stored and by the RDS. And until base, the good thing about these backups, they will stay as long as you want, unless you explicitly go ahead and delete them, basically. The good thing about the snapshot, you can create a new database instance from your previously taken database snapshot. So if you're testing the same application, you are trying to make something and you want to get a copy of your latest database, you can go ahead and take a snapshot, and then from that snapshot, you can go ahead and create a new database. And earlier we discussed you can make use of the provisioned IOPS just to make sure that you are getting consistent IO. Other things we discussed, there is a scaling built into that one. So you can scale your environment easily. You can automatically do the host replacement. There is a replication built into that one. So Amazon RDS provides two distinct but complementary replication feature. One is your like multi-zone deployments. So where your database is replicated between multiple availability zones. That way, in case you load primary database or whole availability zone, your database is still intact in another availability zone. Or you can create something called red replicas that can be used in conjunction to gain enhanced database availability. So you can create something like red replicas, and if you're running some kind of analytics, you can use that read replica to run all of your analytics without impacting the performance of your primary database, while your primary database at the same time is handling all your active IOs. The Amazon's multi-AZ deployments are available for your MySQL and Oracle database engines, while the read replicas are currently supported only for MySQL database engines. So something just to keep in mind. And again, from isolation security point of view, you can have a VPC and some of the other things. Again, it's RDS, so you can configure firewall setting, control network access to basically who can access your database instances, and some of that kind of stuff, pretty much. So this is a little basic introduction to the Amazon's RDS and the web page that I'm showing. It has a pretty good details, and you can go ahead and read some of the information that is out there. And again, the good thing, let's say you are testing something, so you can go ahead and deploy a single instance, and later on, if you decide to make it production, you can go ahead and make the changes on the fly without you having to redeploy everything. So you can just simply go ahead and modify and make the changes from a single deployment to a highly available multi-zone easy deployment. So there are few things that you just want to keep in mind. Just another thing that I want to share, that behind the scene, when RDS replicates data, it's a synchronous replication. Your application always uses your primary instance for any kind of IO, basically. So in case your primary fail, your AWS will automatically promote the secondary server to primary, while simultaneously trying to recover your failed server. And the good thing that the connection strings remains same, so it's the same connection string between a primary and secondary. So that way, in case a primary database availability goes down, you don't have to make any changes to your application. Probably there's going to be a little hiccup, but other than that, everything is smooth up and running fine. There are no other problems. So hopefully you got a good idea about Amazon's RDS. So the RDS is all about relational database services. And again, good thing it's provided by Amazon. So it takes care of a lot of things that we have admin or infrastructure team has been doing. So it makes life a little easy. Again, easy to administer. It's pretty scalable, available and durable. Sorry, because you can deploy multi-AZ, you can create red replicas, and again, being fast, so you can have your provision IOPS, making sure again you can go ahead and secure. And as usual, this is not very expensive service. So hopefully you have a good understanding about the Amazon's RDS service. So as usual, let's go ahead and log into our Amazon AWS Management Console, and then I'll walk you through a pretty quick lab. There is not really much involved. So in this lab, let me just show you, I have already provisioned something. So under compute EC2, I went ahead and created a Windows instance. So I have one Windows instance running that we'll be using later on to connect to our database that we're going to create live. And then I'll show you how it's easy to connect to your database. So let's go back into services and go back to your RDS. Under RDS on the dashboard, there are a few things. So RDS, again, as we discussed, Amazon Relational Database Services makes it easy to set up, operate, and scale relational databases in the cloud. So let's go ahead and start and click on Get Started Now. So there are different engines supported, like as we discussed earlier. So for this lab, we'll just stick to our favorite MySQL. And let me just zoom it a little bit. So community edition support database size up to 6 terabyte. I'm sure you are familiar with all of those things. Supports cross regional red replicas. Simply go ahead and click on select. So on this page, there are a couple of options. You can go back to Amazon's their own RDS services. Aurora, for our case, we are going to use the MS SQL as it says a production. You want to use either Aurora or MySQL. If you're going with MySQL, probably makes sense to have a multi-AZ deployment, provision IOPS, so it makes everything looks good. For our lab, we'll go ahead and start with like as for dev and test, we'll stick with this one, and then later on I'll show you how you can change this basically to a production grade, some of the other things, but we'll not be able to like select few things. I'll walk you through. Simply go ahead and select on MySQL, go ahead and click next. So the first thing, there are a few things, only show option that you can create a red replicas. So forget about this one for the time being. The database engine type, MySQL licensing, DB version. If you need specific one, you can go ahead and make use of that one. Database instance class, you can go ahead and change that one if you need to. For our lab, let me just go ahead and select maybe something DBT2 large, maybe, yeah. Or I'll go ahead and, okay, maybe we'll go ahead and select DBT2 large for this one. Right now, we are not doing a multi-availability zone. I'd say select yes to have Amazon RDS instance asynchronous standby replica in different availability zone than the DB instance. So we are in Oregon region right now. So for the time being, we'll say no. Storage is like general purpose SSD, or you can have provision IOPS. If you want provision IOPS, the minimum that you need to have, it clearly says that these are the minimum IOPS that you can have and maximum. For our demo, I'll just stick with the SSD for the time being. And storage, we'll go ahead and stick with the 5 gig. That is good enough for us. Let's go ahead and give a database identifier. So I'll go ahead and call it RDS, our RDS lab. I'll go ahead and enter a password, AWS. Okay. RDS demo. Go ahead and enter your database passwords, and once everything looks good, we'll just simply go ahead and click next. Once it's done, it's giving us our network and security. If you wanted a custom VPC, you can go ahead and do that. Default subnet, if there are anything publicly accessible. No, we don't want our database to be publicly accessible. So we'll just go ahead and change it. No. Availability zone, no preference in this case. I'll go ahead and change it to creating this into West 2A. VPC group, we are not changing any VPC group. Database name. So we'll go ahead and give a database name of RDS lab. This is the port, parameter group option, copy text to snapshot, enable replication if you want to. And there is a suite backup. So please note that automatic backups are currently supported for InnoDB storage engine only. So backup retention period for how many days you want your database backup to there. Backup window, if you want to select a specific, no preference. I will take Amazon will make sure when there's a less load or kind of off hours, that's the time we'll go ahead and take a snapshot. Monitoring, if you want to enable monitoring, we can go ahead and do monitoring to get some more information. Default granularity 60 seconds. I'll go ahead and change it to maybe 30 seconds for our lab. Auto miner version upgrade, if you want Amazon to take care of the miner upgrades, if you want them to do, you can say yes, otherwise no. For my lab, I'm just going to say no. Maintenance window, there is no preference, and just simply go ahead and click on launch DB. Okay, I haven't created an IAM role, so guys, I'm just going to change my detailed monitoring to no for the time being. So let's go ahead and click launch a database instance. So it says your DB instance is being created. Your instance make it take a few minutes. So simply let's go back and view your database instance. And it's using our default VPC. So let me just show you, we need to make a few changes under services. Let's go to the VPC, and under VPC, because VPC will go under our security group. This is the security group that we are using. Okay, and okay, so by default, 3389. Okay, and let me go ahead and add another rule here. Basically, we'll add our Microsoft MS SQL, or you can just call it the same thing. So it's pretty much from allowing access to, and then simply go ahead and click save. Let's go back to the RDS and have a look at how our database is doing right now. So I'll go back to database instance, and right now it's creating. If you want to see more details, endpoint is right now not available unless we have this endpoint URL will not be able to connect to our database. Let's look some of the details. You can click here. It shows you some of the information that we configured. IOPS are disabled because we use general purpose SSD. Right now it's creating multi-zone AZ. It's not enabled, but the backup is enabled. And some other things, if you want some more details, just simply click right and you can do see details. I will give you some more details. And if you go back to your database instance and right click, you can migrate layer snapshot, or you can create read replicas once it's available. You can promote your read replica to be a read write. You can make changes. You can take snapshot. If you want to reboot, you can go ahead and reboot. If you need to delete your database, you can go ahead and do that. So we will wait for our database to be get created. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and connect to our EC2 instance. We'll use this EC2 instance to connect back to our database. So let me go ahead and do an MSDSC to this one, guys. I made sure that okay, both of these things are okay. Now let's go back and let me do an MSDSC remote. I'm going to launch an RDP to that host. And I'll share my desktop in a minute, guys, as soon as I'm done. So my RDP IP address is 41. So let me go ahead and share the RDP with you guys. And as you can see, I'm connected to the 41. So let's wait for our connection to be fully up. And once this is up, okay, so this is the instance that we are created. Now let's go to the start. And I've installed Microsoft, sorry, not Microsoft, guys, MS SQL Workbench. So we'll connect to our database that we just installed on the Amazon, on our AWS cloud. So just simply go back here. We'll go to the database. Under database, we have different options: connect to database and manage connections. So we'll go ahead and click on manage connection, and we'll go ahead and create a new connection. Call it RDS demo, probably standard TCP/IP. And in the host name, I'm waiting. We'll wait. Username. mm, Let me go back, and I just want to make sure RDS. And let's click on your RDS instance. It's backing up, so that's a good thing. Username is RDS demo. So RDS demo, okay. Now I'm waiting for the host name. So let's go back and okay, here is our endpoint URL. So let's simply go ahead and copy this URL and let's paste that one. Make sure you remove the port. Once that is done, just simply go ahead and click on the test connection. It's going to prompt you for the password. May take a little while because right now it's let's go ahead and enter our database password here. Okay, let's do a test connection. Okay, guys, it's still backing up because we had enabled a backup. So give it a few more minutes. So while it's backing up, let's go ahead and under instance action, you can do some details. If you want to create a read replica, we can go ahead and create a read replica. Snapshot, it's taking a snapshot as I mentioned earlier. It's doing a backup. There are no security groups or there are parameter groups that we showed earlier. You can see more details about these parameter groups by simply click. These are the different parameters. Again, you can add some parameter depending on your need. Let's go back to the instance and it's still backing up. So take a few more minutes. Let's have a look. Yeah, okay. We need to wait for a few more minutes, guys, just to make sure that it's done. RDS demo, my RDS demo. The username is good. Okay, let's give it a couple of more minutes. Okay. Now it says available and database instance is available right now. Backup windows. These are some of the details it shows. Now let's go back and make sure everything looks good. And let's do a test connection here, guys. Okay, let's quickly verify here. And let's verify the security group here. And the inbound rule. It talks, so for the inbound rule, it's only allowing from my public IP address. So guys, let me go ahead and change for the time being to anywhere, or I can just bind it to my instance private IP address. So for the time being, I'm just going to change it to, and let's go back and let's modify one more time here. Okay, and successfully made the MySQL. We can restrict the access only from our private IP address or from our particular instance ID. I'm sure you remember from our custom firewall rule, you can see that we are able to connect. Once that is done, just simply go ahead and click close here. And now once we were able to do a test connection, now we can simply go ahead and connect to our database. So let's go back into database and connect to database. And then simply go ahead and click OK here. And here we go. We are connected to our database. And once we are inside our database, you can just simply go ahead and create some your tables. Your these are some of the existing stuff. You will be able to create some databases. Sorry, we are connected to your database. I'm sorry, guys. You can go ahead and create multiple tables. You can browse data. You can store data. So hopefully you get the idea pretty much. So in this case, I showed you how to connect to your Amazon RDS from a Windows client. But if you are developing an application and let's say you're using a Linux platform, so it's pretty easy. You go to your Linux host machine and just simply go ahead and install the MySQL client library. And I'm sure you are familiar, so you can probably do something. Let's say if you're running Red Hat, you will do yum install MySQL. If you're running Ubuntu, you can do apt-get install. And once that is done, you can go ahead and connect to your RDS instance by typing MySQL space -h followed by the endpoint URL. And I'm sure you recall this is our endpoint URL to connect to this RDS database, which is just think of like a host name or IP address, and then simply go ahead and supply the username and the password to connect to your database. And then simply once you're connected, you can run show databases or create some more tables and run some of your SQL things. Hopefully you get the idea here. Let me walk you through a few other things pretty quickly. So right now, this is not multi-availability zone. Go back here and you can create a red replicas. If you want to take a snapshot, we can just simply go ahead and create a snapshot. Give it a snapshot. You can give it a name. Snap one. Take a snapshot. Okay. So let me go ahead and do it. Take a snapshot. And it started to create a snapshot while our primary is still up and running. You can go to the primary. And you can go back to the snapshot to have a look. Let's go back to the instance. Your instance is still here. You can do some monitoring if you are interested. I will show you some of your monitoring stats for this particular database that we are looking here right now. Hide monitoring. Under instance detail, restore to a point in time. If you want to modify, create red replicas. If you want to create a new red replica, you can go ahead and do that. I'm not doing a red replica in this lab. Let's go back to your database, and what we're going to do here, we'll promote our single instance to a highly available. So go back to the instance and go under modify. The only thing that we need to do here pretty much just change from multi-AZ deployment no to yes. That's all. If you want to change the storage type and all, you can go ahead and do that. I'm not making any of the other changes. I'll simply go ahead and click on continue here. And that's the only change that I made. It shows the change. You have not to check the apply immediately option. As such, some of the modification you are making may only take effect during the next maintenance window. If you want to make the changes right away, you can go ahead and select apply immediately. So I'll go ahead and select apply immediately. There are different options for maintenance and all. You can say when do you want to make this change. So simply go ahead and click continue and click on modify DB instance. So let's go back because we needed a, yep, it's running a backup because we ran that as snapshot. So guys, let's say give me wait for a couple of minutes. We'll make sure that this becomes fully available again. Once the snapshot is done, I'll take a few minutes. So let's go back to the instances to make sure. Okay, it's running a backup. So let's give it a few minutes here. Okay, and it says now it's available. So if you go back to your snapshot, you can see your snapshot is available. Let's go back to your instance again, and we'll go back and make the change, modify, and let's change it to multi-availability zone. So we'll go ahead and apply the changes. Simply go ahead and click continue here and modify your database instance. And once that is done, give it a few minutes. It'll take a while. And you can see the status changed to modifying right now. So it started to make the changes to your database. Right now, the multi-availability zone is no. So let's go ahead and give it a few minutes, guys. And there is nothing under application mode. So let's wait again for a few more minutes. While it's modifying, if you go back to your snapshot, the snapshot that we took here, let me just verify. Okay, yeah, I'm connected. So let's go back to RDS again. And let's go under instance, go back to our snapshot that we took. We can share this snapshot with someone else. With a we can make it public, or we can specify our another AWS account ID or something here. If you want to delete, we can create a copy of even this snapshot. We can migrate this snapshot to a different instance class or something. If you want to make it a little larger, we're thinking we're running out of the storage something. We can go ahead and migrate to a little larger instance, and the rest of the settings remain same. If we go back to snapshot here, we can restore this snapshot. So that's all pretty much, guys. So the database, as we said, you want to create a new database. That's how you would do a migrate snapshot, and you select instance type that you want a little bigger, and you will be able to create a new database. If you want to restore the snapshot, you can go ahead and restore a snapshot again. You can create a new DB instance from a source database. So you will also go ahead and create a new database by using the restore. The only thing when you do a restore, so it says you are creating new DB instance from a source database at a specified time. The new DB instance will have the default DB security group, and rest of the settings will match in terms of the size and all we specified when we created this instance. But if we do a migrate, it does allows you to select by default. It gives you option to migrate to a larger instance class, or basically to a different instance class. So hopefully you get the idea. Let's go back modifying, and let's have a look. Where are we right now? It's modifying. So that will take a few minutes, guys. So let's wait here. Okay, while it's doing that, I'll just go ahead and just simply do a migrate it to a little larger instance, guys. Or let's wait, maybe, I guess. Okay, guys, give it a few more minutes, and hopefully, once this is done, the only thing I just want to show you, the status will change from multi-zone to yes, and we'll have another copy of our database. So in case if this goes down, we'll still be able to access the other one, and both are going to share same endpoint. So give it a few more minutes. Hopefully, it will be done in another 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you. Okay, while we're waiting for this one, I can go ahead and create a new database instance, and I can just show you it's pretty easy to launch a multi-easy. So let's go ahead and launch an instance, guys, quickly. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to RDS and let's launch a DB instance. We'll go ahead and do a MySQL again. We'll do a multi-AZ. Everything looks good. Minimum CPU that you want and all. So we good with that. Multi-AZ, have provisioned IOPS. I'm just going to change it back to 5 gig. I don't want that big. We can call RDS Lab 1, RDS Demo, and just simply go ahead and click publicly accessible again. And now default subnet availability zone. I'm just leaving it to no preference. And some of the other things, backup retention period, I'm just changing it to 0. I don't want any backup for the testing. I'll leave rest of I want to have a name and a minor version upgrade. That's fine. Go ahead and launch DB instance, guys. And we are DB instance. So it's still modifying, but if you look at our other one, it's creating. And now if I expand this one, you can see right now auto upgrades are enabled and multi-AZ is yes. So in this case, it's going to automatically create a asynchronous replication to the other copy. So in case our primary goes down, we'll still be able to access our database using the same endpoint ID. So that will not be different. So again, that will take a few more minutes. And as you can see here with the modifying, so I want to make sure that I've selected the, now let's go back and have a look here. Okay, modification. And you can see the status just changed to multi-AZ. Yes, that means now it's getting replicated. It's like we are getting a highly available. Now the database instance is available, and you can see its status changes to yes. And if you look back here, this is our endpoint URL, and this URL will remain pretty much same even if our one instance goes down or our primary instance goes down. We still be okay. So let me just show you that one pretty quick here. So if you go back here and if you look here, so let's go back to the instance, and we can go ahead and simply delete this instance. So now let me go ahead and delete this instance. Let's go ahead and delete, create final snapshot. If you want to create a snapshot, automatic backup will no longer be available. We don't want to create a snapshot or anything, and just simply go ahead and click on delete. So hopefully you got a pretty good idea around the Amazon's offering for the RDS. It's the relational database services. You can go ahead and create your database. There are good options that you can see. You can create a highly available by doing multi-AZ deployment. There are different engines available. You can go ahead and make some changes by going to the parameters groups and options group. You can create red replicas. You can take snapshot. You can create new databases from the snapshot, and some of the other good things. So again, you can go to the Amazon's document for the RDS, and you can go and you can learn more, some of the details in great depth. If you're looking something in particular, MySQL, MariaDB, or you're trying to launch a SQL server. As usual, if any questions, guys, feel free to drop questions. If not, then I'll see you sometime in another session. Thank you. Bye-bye.